Boxing promoter Eddie Hearn recently appeared on the DAZN boxing show, and in the brief exchange he had with the host, he revealed some key predictions for boxer Devin Haney and what he would do once he defeats George Kambosos to become the undisputed champion. Keep watching this video for all the details, plus more boxing news. So, what's the newest deal Haney has signed? 23-year-old Haney signed a deal with Top Rank and Lou DiBella that consists of 3 fights. 2 of these fights will be against none other than Kambosos, and in the case that he wins them, he will be the newest undisputed lightweight champion. Apart from that, Haney will have the 3rd fight against Vasyl Lomachenko, but only next year, and if Lomachenko returns from war in the Ukraine. But if all goes to plan, and Haney succeeds in all the major fights to come, what happens next? Will he get a new deal from Top Rank, or will he move on to more ambitious projects? Eddie Hearn, who represents Matchroom Boxing as a promoter, thinks Haney will win all 3 fights and join Matchroom Boxing, as well as return to DAZN. In his interview, he said that Haney is a very promising boxer who could bring it on in all 3 fights that are scheduled for this year and the next one. He said his plan is to go and get those belts and then come back. I want Devin to become undisputed. Devin's a very loyal kid, but you can't miss an opportunity like this. But what happens if Haney doesn't win the fights? The first face-off against Kambosos comes on June 5th, and it's too far off as of now to give any definitive predictions about the outcome of the fight. Haney could win just as much as he could lose, but what happens if the latter's the case? Sean Jones thinks Hearn will completely forget Haney if he loses the 3 fights, and he'd no longer be welcome in the DAZN and Matchroom wing. After all, why would Hearn cater to a failing career? Hearn already tends to give up on fighters easily. He seems to have a problem with Anthony Joshua, who's had an equal number of wins and defeats in his previous 4 matches. And if AJ loses against Alexander Usyk as well, that might be it for his Matchroom boxing tenure. Also, Bob Arum's already got the better of Hearn in the purse bid for the Tyson Fury vs. Dylan White face-off to take place on April 23rd. And if he wants to keep Haney with Top Rank, he's sure to have a few tricks up his sleeve to make that possible. Plus, Hearn hasn't had much luck with Haney anyway, so there's no saying he'd be interested in taking the 23-year-old back under his wing if he loses the fights. What are the odds for the upcoming Haney vs. Kambosos? The bout to take in June is super exciting for many reasons. Firstly, the world will see Haney prove his legitimacy as a boxer if he manages to win. On the other hand, Kambosos will show whether the recent improvements in his performance actually mean something and whether he upholds them or not. So what are the odds here? The experts have spoken out about the upcoming fight, and here's what they think. Seeing Kambosos handle Teofimo in their November 27th bout increased his likability by 100%. It's obvious that all the rounds the 28-year-old put in with Pacquiao are finally paying off. When it comes to Haney, he's upped his game for every fight he's had in recent years. His style may not be the most popular with the fans, but we're looking at a highly committed boxer who requires another boxer's absolute A-game to even flinch a little. Keeping that in mind, the experts are favoring Haney for this fight as well, just as they have for some of his previous fights. He's definitely the betting favorite this time around too, with a negative 280 odds. However, these odds are shorter than Haney's past fights. Take opponent Jojo Diaz, against whom Haney was a negative 600 favorite, and Linares, who gave Haney negative 800 in odds. The betting line will obviously change as the fight draws nearer, but for now, a lot of bettors are putting their trust on Haney to win them some easy cash. Let's see what actually happens on fight day, and whether Haney will come through for all those relying on him. What does Joel Diaz think of the upcoming fight? Like most experts, Joel Diaz is also siding with Haney for this fight. The professional trainer thinks Haney has what it takes to scoop up the 4 belts from undisputed champ Kambosos. While Diaz thinks it's an almost 50-50 matchup, he said that Haney's defense skills give him the edge that Kambosos still doesn't possess. But one thing he's warned Haney fans against is the location of the match. It'll take place in Kambosos' backyard in Melbourne, Australia, and being close to home while he defends his multiple belts may give Kambosos the motivation he needs to go all the way. Moreover, this is a fight that Kambosos wants. He specifically asked for a fight against Haney, and it could be because he's confident he'd win. The fight also comes after a major cancellation for Kambosos. He was planning to face Vasyl Lomachenko, but the Russian invasion of Lomachenko's native Ukraine interfered with those plans. So Kambosos may give his all to the second option, having obtained the matchup after a lot of efforts. So Diaz overall thinks that the odds are definitely in Haney's favor, but he also thinks that Kambosos is not one to give up easily and will do everything in his ability to keep those shiny belts within his home country. Other boxing news. Promoter Ben Shalom has expressed his thoughts about Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. The long-awaited grudge fight between Brook and Khan took place last month, and to Khan's dismay, he suffered a 6th-round stoppage. But there's always the option to activate a rematch. Khan Khan seemed pretty sure pre-fight that the night and the belt would be his when he stepped inside the ring. That didn't happen, and promoter Ben Shalom has a few suggestions as to why. He thinks that it was a tough fight anyway, and the outcome wasn't all that surprising to him. He thinks that Khan still has a long way to go in his career and is in no way at his best, which is why he lost. In that regard, Shalom thinks Khan wants to put in the work. He said that Khan will return to the ring and that he's understood why the Brook fight was a lost bet. If you remember, Khan seemed pretty distraught following the Brook defeat. He said that he no longer loved boxing. Shalom wants Khan to think again. He said that he believes in the boxer and that he can bounce back from the defeat if he truly wants to. Shalom said that the defeat should be taken as an opportunity. Amir could prove that he still got it even if he didn't bring it on against Brook, and that he can still progress even when he's nearing his 40s. Usyk versus Joshua rematch. What would the new location be? Usyk's promoter, Alexander Krasyuk, says that the rematch against Anthony Joshua may take place in Saudi Arabia. The discussions are underway, and Saudi Arabia is being considered reasonable as a location for the major fight. If Saudi Arabia is finalized, it will be a chance for Joshua to return to the country after regaining his WA, IBF, and WBO heavyweight belts. Along with the location, the schedule for the match is also under discussion. Krasyuk said that getting everything on paper might help with making this process a bit speedy. If Saudi Arabia is indeed chosen, the fight could take place in late June. The rematch comes after Usyk's victory over Joshua by unanimous decision to become a legendary two-weight world champion. Just like Lomachenko, Usyk also visited his native Ukraine to defend against the Russian invasion. However, Usyk now says he plans to let the Joshua rematch go ahead according to the schedule once it's set. He said that would be better defense for his country rather than being physically present there. This was because he was criticized for allowing things to go normally when many of his home country suffered. He responded, addressing all his haters, telling them that those close to him know his intentions and know that the fight would do more for his country than territorial defense ever could. That being said, there's a lot of excitement in the air for the rematch as well. People are dying to see if Joshua's claims to bounce back from the defeat will stand true, or if he's indeed below the Ukrainian in his abilities. We'll only find out once the match takes place, but there are a lot of predictions from both the fans and the experts. Let's see what happens. That's it for today's video. What are your thoughts on Haney versus Kambosos? Do you also agree with the experts in favoring Haney? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel where we post similar videos quite frequently. We'll see you in the next one.